Chapter 3 Going South. Dustfinger must have been waiting in the road beyond the wall. Maggie had picked her precarious way along the top of that wall hundreds of times, up to the rusty hinges of the gate and back again, eyes tightly closed so she could get a clearer view of the tiger she imagined waiting in the bamboo at the foot of the wall. His eyes yellow as amber, or the foaming rapids to her right and her left. Only Dustfinger was there now, but no other sight could have made Maggie's heart beat faster. He appeared so suddenly, Mo almost ran him down. He wore only a sweater, and he was shivering with his arms folded over his chest. His coat was probably still damp from last night's rain, but his hair was dry now, a ruffled, sandy mop above his scarred face. Mo swore under his breath, switched off the engine, and got out of the van. Smiling his strange smile, Dustfinger leaned back against the wall. "Where are you going in such a hurry, Silverton? Did we have a date?" he asked. "You stood me up like this once before, remember?" "You know why I'm in a hurry," replied Mo, "for the same reason as last time." He was still standing by the open door of the van, looking tense, as if he couldn't wait for Dustfinger to get out of the way. But Dustfinger pretended not to notice Mo's impatience. "Then may I know where you're going?" he inquired. "It took me 4 years to find you last time, and if luck hadn't been on your side, Capricorn's men would have got to you first." When he glanced at Maggie, she stared back icily. Mo was silent for a while. "Capricorn is in the north," he answered at last, "so we are going south." "Or has he taken up residence somewhere else now?" Dustfinger looked down the road. Last night's rain shone in the potholes. No, he said. "No, he's still in the north. Oh, so I hear. And since you've obviously made up your mind to go on refusing him what he wants, I better go south myself as fast as I can. Heaven knows I don't want to be the one to give Capricorn's men the bad news. So if you give me a lift part of the way, I'm ready to leave." The 2 bags he picked up from where they stood by the wall looked as if they'd been all around the world a dozen times. Apart from the bags, Dustfinger had nothing but his backpack with him. Maggie compressed her lips. "No, Mo," she thought. "No, let's not take him." But she had only to look at her father to know that his answer would be different. "Oh, come on, Silverton," said Dustfinger. "What am I going to tell Capricorn's men if I fall into their hands?" He looked lost, standing there like a stray dog, and hard as Maggie tried to see something sinister about him, she couldn't, not in the pale morning light. All the same, she didn't want him to go with them. Her face showed that very clearly, but neither of the 2 men took any notice of her. "Believe me, I couldn't keep the fact that I've seen from them for very long," Dustfinger continued. "And anyway," he hesitated before completing his sentence, "you still owe me, don't you?" Mo bowed his head. Maggie saw his hand closing more firmly around the open door of the van. "If you want to look at it like that," he said, "yes, I suppose I do still owe you." The relief was plain to see on Dustfinger's scarred face. He quickly hoisted his backpack over his shoulders and came over to the van with his bags. "Wait a minute!" cried Maggie, as Mo moved to help him. "If he's coming with us, then I want to know why we're running away. Who is this man called Capricorn?" Mo turned to her. "Maggie," he began in the tone she knew only too well. "Maggie, don't be so silly," he meant. "Come along now, Maggie." She opened the van door and jumped out. "Maggie, for heaven's sake, get back in, we have to leave. I'm not getting back in until you tell me." Mo came toward her, but Maggie slipped away and ran through the gate into the road. "Why won't you tell me?" she cried. The road was deserted, as if there were no other human beings in the world. A slight breeze had risen, caressing Maggie's face and rustling in the leaves of the lime tree that grew by the roadside. The sky was still warm and grey and refused to clear. "I want to know what's going on," cried Maggie. I want to know why we have to get out at 5 o'clock, and why I don't have to go to school. I want to know if we're ever coming back, and I want to know who this Capricorn is." When she spoke the name, Mo looked around as if the man with the strange name, the man he and Dustfinger obviously feared so much, might step out of the empty barn just as suddenly as Dustfinger had emerged from behind the wall. But the yard was empty, and Maggie was too furious to feel frightened of someone when she knew nothing about him other than his name. "You've always told me everything," she shouted at her father. "Always!" But Mo was still silent. "Everyone has a few secrets, Maggie," he said at last. "Now come along. Do get in. We have to leave." Dustfinger looked first at Mo, then Maggie with an expression of incredulity on his face. "You haven't told her?" Maggie heard him ask in a low voice. Mo shook his head. "But I have to tell her something. It's dangerous for her not to know. She's not a baby anymore." "It's dangerous for her to know, too," said Mo, "and it wouldn't change anything." Maggie was still standing in the road. "I heard all that," she cried. "What's dangerous? I'm not getting in until you tell me." Mo still said nothing. Dustfinger looked at him uncertain for a moment, then put down his bags. "Very well," he said. "Then I'll tell you about Capricorn myself." He came slowly toward Maggie, who involuntarily stepped back. "You met him once," said Dustfinger. "It's a long time ago. You won't remember, you were so little." He held his hand at knee height in the air. "How can I explain what it's like? If you were to see a cat eating a young bird, I expect you'd cry, won't you? Or try to help the bird. Capricorn would feed the bird to the cat on purpose, just to watch it be torn apart, and the little creature screeching and struggling would be as sweet as honey to him." Maggie took another step backward, but Dustfinger kept advancing toward her. "I don't suppose you get any fun from terrifying people until their legs were so weak they could hardly stand?" he asked. "Nothing gives Capricorn more pleasure, and I don't suppose you think you can just help yourself to anything you want. Never mind what or where. Capricorn does. Unfortunately, your father has something Capricorn has set his heart on." Maggie grasped at Mo, but he just stood there looking at her. "Capricorn can't buy books like your father," Dustfinger went on. "In fact, he's not much good at anything except terrifying people. But he's a master of that art in his whole life. I doubt if he himself has any idea what it's like to be so paralyzed by fear that he feels small and insignificant. But he knows just how to arouse that fear and spread it in people's homes, and their beds, in their heads and their hearts. His men spread fear abroad at a breakneck. They push it on the doors, into mailboxes. They pin it on walls and stable doors until it infects everything around it of its own accord, silent and stinking like a plague." Dustfinger was very close to Maggie now. "Capricorn has many men," he said softly. "Most have been with him since they were children. And if Capricorn were to order one of them to cut off your nose or one of your ears, he'd do it without batting an eyelash. They like to dress in black like crows. Only the leader wears a white shirt under his black jacket. And should you ever meet any of them, then make yourself small, very small, and hope they don't notice you. Understand?" Maggie nodded. Her heart was pounding so hard she could scarcely breathe. "I can see why your father has never told you about Capricorn," said Dustfinger, looking at Mo. "If I had children, I'd rather tell them about nice people too." "I know the world's not just full of nice people." Maggie couldn't keep her voice from shaking with anger and more than a touch of fear. "Oh yes? How do you know that?" There was again that mysterious smile, sad and supercilious at the same time. "Have you ever had anything to do with a real villain?" "I've heard about them." Dustfinger laughed aloud. "Yes, of course, that almost comes to the same thing," he said. His mockery hurt like stinging nettles. He bent down to Maggie and looked her in the face. "All the same, I heard reading about them. It's as close as you ever get, he said quietly. Mo was stowing Dustfinger's bags in the back of the van. I hope there's nothing in there that might come flying around our heads, he said, as Dustfinger got in the back seat behind Maggie. With your trade, I won't be surprised. Before Maggie could ask what trade that was, Dustfinger opened his backpack and carefully lifted out an animal, was blinking sleepily. Since we've obviously have quite a long journey ahead of us, he told Mo, I'd like to introduce someone to your daughter. The creature was almost the size of a rabbit, but much thinner, with a bushy tail now draped over Dustfinger's chest like a fur collar. It dug a slender cross into his sleeve while inspecting Maggie with its screaming, beady black eyes. And when it yawned, it bared teeth as sharp as needles. This is Squint, said Dustfinger. You can tickle him behind the ears if you like. He's very sleepy at the moment, so he won't bite. Does he usually? Asked Maggie. Yes, said Mo, getting back behind the wheel. If I were you, I'd keep my fingers away from that little brute. But Maggie couldn't keep her hands off any animal, however sharp its teeth. He's a marten or something like that, right? She asked. Something of that nature. Dustfinger put his hand in his pants pocket and gave Gwen a piece of dry bread. Maggie stroked his little head as he chewed, and her fingertips found something hard under the silky fur. Tiny horns growing beside his ears. Surprised, she took her hand away. Do martens have horns? Dustfinger winked at her and let Gwen climb back into the backpack. This one does, he said. Bewildered, Maggie watched him fasten the straps. She felt as if she was still touching Gwen's little horns. Mo, do you know that mountains have horns? She asked. Oh, Dustfinger stuck them on that sharp-toothed little devil of his for his performances. What kind of performances? Maggie looked inquiringly first at Mo, then at Dustfinger. But Mo just started the engine, and Dustfinger, who seemed to have come far, judged by his bags, took off his boots and stretched out on Mo's back in the van with a deep sigh. Don't give me away, Silvertongue, he said before he closed his eyes. I have my own secrets, you know, and for those I need darkness. They must have driven 50 kilometers, and Maggie was still trying to figure out what he could possibly have meant. Mo, she asked, when Dustfinger began snoring behind them, what does this Capricorn want from you? She lowered her voice before she spoke the name, as if that might remove some of the menace from it. A book, replied Mo without taking his eyes off the road. A book? Then why not give it to him? I can't. I'll explain soon, but not now, all right? Maggie looked out of the van window. The world they were passing outside already looked unfamiliar. Unfamiliar houses, unfamiliar roads, unfamiliar fields. Even the trees and the sky looked unfamiliar. But Maggie was used to that. She had never really felt at home anywhere. Mo was her home. Mo and her books, and perhaps the camper van that carried them from one place to the next. This aunt we're going to see, she said as they drove through an endless tunnel. Does she have any children? No, said Mo, and I'm afraid she doesn't particularly like children either. But as I said, I'm sure you'll get along well with her. Maggie sighed. She could remember several aunts, and she hadn't gotten along particularly well with any of them. They were driving through mountains now. The slopes on both sides of the road rose ever more steeply, and there came a point where the houses looked not just unfamiliar, but really different. May tried to pass the time by counting tunnels, but when the night swallowed them up and the darkness went on, she fell asleep. She dreamed of mountains in black jackets and a book in a brown paper cup.